Okay, LaRusso, we need to have a little talk.
What?
Wake up and smell the coffee, Mr. LaRusso. You're getting in that ring. This guy wants to break. Ow! Humiliate you! Stomp you into the ground! From now on, when people say karate around here, all of it is Cobra Kai! Karate! John Priestess Karate!
Gentlemen, it seems we have a few things to discuss.
So first of all, thank you for your time. I totally
Yeah,
appreciate
sorry for
it.
the fuck up, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's what happens. I'm working on a show. I write and produce a show, Virgin River. So I'm just about to head up to Vancouver to do produce the next block.
One of the episodes you wrote on it was super controversial, wasn't it? Didn't it take the fandom by storm? One of the episodes that you wrote.
Is that one of the
Yeah, they're saying that you're writing.
Well,
people were stunned that you wrote that. That's how much it hit them, that episode.
Well, my wife and I, our writing team, we came on season 5, and we just finished writing season 7. So now we just literally started shooting this week up in Vancouver. So that's kind of cool.
Dude, that's phenomenal. Before we get into your career, I was stunned, and I usually don't lead with IMDb stuff. You were born in Hartford, right? So, like, how long do you spend there?
In childhood up till high school.
And then you go to one of the most underrated colleges, perhaps in the U.S., in Holy Cross.
Yeah,
in Worcester.
It was great, and in fact, it was a good experience. And I would have stayed, but I was cast in a Broadway show between my sophomore and junior year, so I transferred to NYU and did for a year. Went to school and did the show at night. It's kind of a crazy schedule, but a great way to come to New York. I'm so blessed,
Yeah, and I bring that up only because, like, I am like 30 minutes from each one. I'm I'm right outside of Springfield.
Are you? Okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a dance school there in Springfield. Yeah.
Oh, how cool is that? What a small world, Thomas. That's really cool. The other thing I wanted to bring up to you is, so I go to these Facebook groups where you're super loved and super liked, and even your character being who he is, you are still. So this one woman says, I went to Goodwill and I found this jacket, and she posted it. I said, listen, long story short, I said, I'll give you whatever you want for the jacket. I just want to put it in my man cave. I love it. Her name is Hope R. Goodwood. She was on the 2nd unit. Do you remember this jacket? Do you remember getting something like this? Hold on. And then the back looks like this.
Do you know, I still have that. I still have that one from Karate Kid 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was like at the Goodwill. So Hope apparently was trying to do some spring cleaning or something. But I was like, wow, pretty awesome. So there's a couple of things I want to ask you. What is you're in great shape, phenomenal shape. Like, take me through your workout, because if they did a show on me 30 or 40 years later, I would have went from this like really healthy, fit guy to this plump, like, you've kept yourself in great shape for that long period of time. So your workout, whatever it is, works.
Well, look, I've been doing it my whole life. I've been a martial artist my whole life. And I always say it's more for my mental therapy. It's like, if I didn't, I'd be a therapist, I think. But just having that balance in what we do, it was a great skill to have as an actor, because it just, the cliche just gave me balance and everything. And it wasn't until Karate Kid 3, my first film, that it was like, oh, the stunt coordinator says, I know you, and you got to show the director you really do this, because the character didn't do karate in the original script for that. And then, I've kept it up my whole life. And, I get up every morning. It gets me going. In fact, when the Cobra Kai guys called, they were like, you still do karate? It's like, yes, I still do karate. It's a funny way of looking at it. It's just who you are,
Right.
So I sent them a little video of, my workout area, put a red cup on top of a heavy bag and just, did a spinning hook kick to knock it off, and they got a kick out of it.
I saw one of your kicks when you were training. I think it might have been at your house, but it was like pretty impressive. Like, I mean, and that's what I was going to ask you. Like, I think from other interviews I heard you were in, I had the same reaction you did when I first heard they were making a show. I'm like, there's no way this works. Like, it's worked a couple times in the history of shows, like MASH, and I think Friday Night Lights.
Exactly.
Yeah. But like every other thing was like a miserable feeling. Like, there's no way they do this justice. Then I watch Ace Degenerate, and I'm like, I'm in. I'm hooked. But it took me a year, and I'm so mad at myself, Thomas. How did you get past that? First, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Did you feel that way?
I had the exact same feeling, Derek. I said, I heard they were doing this, a spin-off of the, movie franchise. I said, this is going to be a train wreck. But I tuned in. It was YouTube Red. And I watched it with my wife, and we sat down, and we were so pleased and pleasantly surprised that, first of all, it was irreverent, it was funny, it had all the right ingredients. And I was so proud of Ralph and Billy. I thought they did a great job, and I was hooked. And literally as a fan, never thinking, oh, they're going to, bring Terry Silver back to this world. That wasn't even on the table at the time.
Yeah, when you got the call, were you stunned? Were you like, oh wow?
Well, when Netflix picked it up, in season 3, then the rumors started, and even when I was getting the call from the guys, I sort of prepped myself saying this is going to be a one-off. I'm going to come in, it's like it probably wouldn't be the right thing to go back to act because once you're an actor, you're always an actor, but to walk away from what I was doing and. Would this be the role to come back to? Probably not, because it was this over-the-top archetypal thing we did, and then they literally broke down 2 seasons for me of what it was about, and it was like, God, this sounds amazing.
Yeah. We're gonna get to some of the iconic things you've done, but I got to tell you, it was so nice as a fan because for years we were saying, boy, would it be nice to have Johnny Lawrence and Mike Barnes and all these guys in the same universe that were separated by movies, right? Terry Silver would be great. All these guys together, and finally, the big three, they make it happen, and they make it happen in such a great way.
Exactly.
It's insane. And rewatching that Karate Kid 3, which is maybe one of the coolest posters ever. I didn't realize how dark it was psychologically. Well, I knew how psychologically how dark it was, but you know what, Thomas? It's really there's a lot of shadows. The way it's shot, the way the cinematography, it's very almost. I'm not gonna say horror movie like. But it gives off vibes of like this was not the cinematography in the first 2. It was very frightening, and then your performance just knocks it out of the park. Is that a good observation? Is that something that kind of was meant to be?
In retrospect, looking back, I know Ralph had a different take on it, and I just feel like John Avildsen was looking to infuse it with something different, to bring something new to it. And when they created this character. I guess Marty Cove wasn't available, or they just wanted to do something new. And I remember John Avildsen saying he doesn't want to repeat the type of villain we've had, so he just go for it. And it was like, is this going to work? Whatever. But this was the guy who did Rocky, and this is my first movie, and I'm going, okay, we're going to go for it, So I just think he wanted to try to do something. And I think that the Terry Silver character just brought such a new energy to the whole piece, so it was more scary. I think there was something, that they had in the first, with the whole bad guy in the first movie that they sort of they had to top, and they really went for it.
How creative did John let you become? Was he like,
oh my God, it was crazy because it was like, because I was a New York stage actor, and I was like, what if we did this? And he said, go for that. And it was just like, I remember he came in one day and he said, the studio saw the dailies and they were like, oh, they can't use that. And he was really happy about it. And I'm going, if that's what you chose to put in the film, what the hell were the dailies like that you didn't put in there too over the top?
Right. And it's such a great point. And you know what? Being such a big fan of this, I know you are too. The premise is ridiculous. Somebody put such a funny, it was like a meme / video where they show the boat blowing up, and somebody says on top, just keep in mind these 2 men have killed each other over a high school karate tournament.
But that's the whole thing. I mean,
that's it.
The premise is really ludicrous, but there was something about it to say, okay, accept it. They are about to kill each other over, like you said, a karate tournament in the San Fernando Valley, but I think you get past that. And the only way to do it, I think if you sort of play into that, you take away from the fun. If you throw yourself into it and it is life and death and it means the world, then I think the audience can be brought along for this ride. And then within that, you have these heartfelt moments or real scary moments or real emotional moments that, that we've earned. So it's an interesting world, and it's amazing that it became such a global phenomenon, and I was just so proud to be a part of it, the great fans and worldwide.
Thomas, is there something that you wanted to see, when it came to Terry Silver the second time around that maybe didn't exist in the first? Was there an added element that you wanted people to see? Because I have a few thoughts on that, but I was just curious if, because you said, I don't want to come back with the same character. Was there any nuances that you added, anything that you kind of brought forward?
Yeah, I give the creators all that credit because like when I asked the questions, it's like, what has this guy been doing for the last, 30 something years?
Yeah.
And then they mapped out this whole story. Why was he the way he was back then? And how do you bring a real human relatable emotion to this guy, that people are going, oh my God, this crazy character. And it's like, and they had that all mapped out. So that was all them. So I said, oh, I'll lean into that. I can make that work for sure.
Yeah. I have to ask you this? Were you sad to see Terry go? And I don't mean to be over the top here, but was it like saying goodbye to a part of yourself? Because this is somebody that you've been a part of for so long and adored throughout the fandom. Like, I mean, I don't want to be dramatic. I feel like I'm Shakespearean at this point, but like, do you feel like you lost a part of yourself? Do you feel like it's like
Darek, it's so funny you asked that because they had a premiere in Hollywood and they aired episodes 13 and 14, at a theater on Hollywood Boulevard, and they had the big after party. And I got to bring my two boys to this, and they were watching it. And the last episode 14 ends with the boat blowing up and me dying. Yeah. And I'm going, oh, isn't this fun? The next day, it was like teeming rain in LA. And I was just in this like very melancholy mood. And I'm going online reading, and this is something I usually don't do, about what did people think of the show and this. And I realized I hadn't assimilated the, psychologically, the emotional impact of what that would be like just because of what you said. I mean, this is my first film and now it's come full circle and it's been great, but it was always still out there. You know what I mean? So this was the final moment. So I emailed the guys, John, Josh, and Hayden, and just said, I blame you for this. What the hell is it? I didn't know it was such a big part of my life. I knew it was, but you truly haven't, it hadn't really sunk in to say, wow, this was, part not only as my career, but all the things it's given me. It's just been a great gift. So I was appreciative, but it was bittersweet.
Thomas, was there any other way out for Silver? Was there any other way? Was this the only way?
Of course, Darek. I mean, that's the one thing they screwed up on. It's like, I was like, oh, there is another way. Come on. It's like, I'm more redeemable than, John Kreese. I didn't kill a kid at a karate tournament.
Right. And what's wild about the two of you is that after Vietnam, by the way, I love the way you mold yourself into this acting, like, I don't know what you call it, character, but like you're able to, like, you're almost the same age as Ralph in the movie, and then you're a Vietnam vet and you blend in perfectly in each way. It's pretty amazing how you do that. Like I buy both appearances, and that's a big gap, Thomas. That's a huge gap.
Right. I think when I was 29, saying I'm a Vietnam vet, when we're playing it, and when we were first shooting Karate Kid 3, it was like I was going, how is this going to work? But as you get older, you go, you know what? It's a character known worldwide. You just go for it and bring all those qualities and you use your imagination. And with respect to what these guys really went through.
Thomas, what was Silver's terminal illness?
Cancer, but they didn't say specifically what kind. But that in fact we had shot a scene in season 5 in the doctor's office where you heard all that, and then it was all cut. I think I'm not sure why. I probably know why in the big picture, because you say you don't want to feel too much for Silver, especially where that character fits in the storytelling, knowing where he's going. He's going to lean more into the Terry Silver we first met in Karate Kid 3 at the end. And they had to have that because, they're bringing Kreese around, and you need the villain. You need the drive. You need what propels the story forward.
Yeah, you see a scene early on where Kreese comes to see you, and you're at a desk, and there's a bottle of pills. Does he have a terminal illness for those 3 seasons, or is that pills for? Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I know
it was. I think they planned to bring that out earlier. We had the pills, and that he was dealing with this type of pain, and that sort of we sort of shelved that, and that's why I was happy to see that they brought it back near the end with the whole tournament, and that the scene in the mirror that where you see, oh, this guy is going. He has nothing to lose, but the scaffolding of everything he believed in for his entire life, the philosophy that he shared with Kreese, he still believes in it, where Kreese has moved on, has something else. And it's like, how could that be? So there's a desperation that makes the character very watchable by then, to say he's unmoored. What is he going to do next? I don't know.
I like them both. I think, like I said, I think
like
what's
better, right?
I do, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel like they're just not good for each other, Thomas. I feel like and I feel like and this is maybe an unpopular theory of fans. I feel like Silver makes an attempt to turn it around a little bit. He goes to therapy. I think that's implied. I think it's implied that he turns his life around. He sincerely apologizes to LaRusso, and he's not doing it to be a dick. He's doing it because he's sincerely sorry.
Right.
So I felt like Silver makes these attempts. He's not a perfect guy. I get it. He's got edges to him that are just unbelievable. But you have to acknowledge that the attempts that were made, I think, is that a reach, Thomas?
No, not at all. Those are very truthful moments that were played very honestly. We have talked about that going in before shooting it, to say he really means this. He's an extremely loyal person. And literally, if he could have made a deal to say, just walk away, you go do your thing, I'll do mine to Daniel, I think it would have worked out for him. You know what I mean? So that's what you love about the character, to say, otherwise you're going pure evil. How do you play real evil, whatever? It's like, like you said, he's got issues, but the core of him, he believes in what he's doing is right and true and good for the next generation. So, I mean, that's a big part of it, to say, how do you make that real in this ridiculous make-believe world? To say someone that is so committed that you go, oh, that's an admirable quality. He literally went back into the fray for John Kreese how many times now to save someone who's saved his life in Vietnam when he was a punk, skinny little kid.
Yeah, that's such a great point. How much did you love the grandiose piano scene? How great was that? That's right out of the 20s and 30s. The piano playing
it's like Hayden. First of all, they loved it. It's like, oh, you sing opera. We're going to work that in. It's like, no, we're not going to work that in. You play the piano. Let's work that in. And then the next thing I know, they write this stuff, and what a great entrance.
Yeah, 100%. So a lot of people say that Silver is the Joker with no makeup. He's Lex Luthor. What do you see any of those? Somebody said Emperor Palpatine.
Sure.
Do you see any of those, Thomas, or is there something that you pattern him after that no one said?
Silver is a villain in the sense that he's someone who just appreciates great literature and great art in his house. And, so these are the things in, whatever madness he has found peace in, so that creates a very, three-dimensional character. So, there's always something else going on. So it's not just like he's just being bad for the sake of being bad. It's not that. So those complexities, I think, and again, I give credit to the writers to say they kept tapping into those little things, and you kept seeing those moments of truth with this character to say, oh my God, why do I like this guy? Why do I relate to this guy? It's like, I'm shocked. I mean, we took a vacation on our break from the show we write to Greece, my wife and I. And as soon as we got off the plane, everybody on these islands knew Terry Silver. Everybody was Cobra Kai fans. So it's like, it's reached some, why is it? How come, So I think, I'm proud of that. And just, I feel so blessed to have been part of it.
Thomas, you're bloody terrific. Like, I'm not just saying, no, like, easily my favorite character, even though he's a villain. And I love the way he's the only guy that really believes in Kenny. I just, there's a lot about.
Yeah, I love that relationship, and I love those scenes because they're played so honestly. And that kid's a hell of an actor too.
He really is. Did it bother you that? And this bothered me. Did it bother you that it seems like everybody got their redemption except Silver? He doesn't get his redemption. Yeah, everybody gets it.
I didn't take it personally because, again, as a writer creator, you go, I understand he had to fit into the big picture, that the piece of the puzzle, and redemption wasn't in the, he did have a good ride. I feel, they brought him on, they gave him a good ride. Season 5 was great. And then season 6, you see his demise.
When Daniel turns down your apology, is that the straw that breaks the camel's back at that point for him? Is that the last piece for him? Does he just kind of lose it after that?
I think it's a huge part of it because the trajectory changes there. It's like, I go to make peace. I go to put it all on the line. And then when that's rejected, it's like, F you, man. It's like, if this is what you want, it's like there's still that fighter in Terry Silver. So he will go to war over this.
But Thomas, he legitimately has things. And I know people are going to watch this and they're going to be saying, "Boy, he's making a lot of excuses for Silver." But I am like trauma and PTSD are real things. It's like football players with CTE. Like that stuff is real. So I feel like I'm not making excuses for what this guy did, but I think he's a much more complicated man and character than just, oh, he's the villain. Oh, he's a bad guy. Oh, he's this, he's that. Right?
But isn't that the truth? And that, I think that's, as an actor, the things you love to tap into. I don't know if is still in the show. Like when Terry at one point is talking to, maybe it is Kenny, he's talking about his own father and that relationship. And it's like, that is just, you don't shake that, you carry that. And I think why Terry became so passionate about what he believed in, it's like, it's survival. That gets me through my day. Oh, this Cobra Kai philosophy, this world I can create. So those things become much more important in someone's life, because we all need something to grab on, to hold on to in times to deal with past or deal with trauma. And I think he was continually doing that in a successful way, and it just got thwarted by John Kreese.
Yeah. The scene with Stingray? How did you like shooting that? Where he kind of goes back. He's kind of, what is it, off the wagon or on? I forget what it is. Off the wagon, where he goes back to drinking, which we don't see, right?
I think the pills were cut from that too, but you see the drinking still in that. That was a scene I wanted to get right. In fact, that was a crazy time on set, because it was during the COVID time, and we were all so safe, and then one person on set got COVID and I got it, and I was just coming back, and it's like, will I have the strength to do this? And the first time we went to go shoot that scene, I was like, I'm not myself. And I was walking to set, and the AD walked up to me and said, "Oh, Paul, how's it? Got food poisoning. We got to push this." It was like, oh, thank you, God. You know what I mean? I just wanted to be able to bring that quality of Terry that requires that energy and that inner turmoil, that you can just feel, and you just want to watch. You can't take your eyes off that type of thing.
Thomas, maybe also unpopular. Stingray, there's two characters I didn't like for different reasons. Stingray was one, Anthony LaRusso was the other. But like, Stingray's the kind of guy you hide your kids from. Like when he's partying with high school kids and he's going to proms, he's the guy that, like, no, thank you. Like I had little sympathy for him when Silver goes to town. I'm sorry. Like I don't think I don't think violence is ever the answer. But that being said, I wasn't really hurt.
Right. I look back so fondly, because Paul is such a wonderful actor.
Oh, he's terrific.
He was so terrific. He was so great and funny in the role.
There's a movie you did, Excessive Force. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember. What a great movie. I was hoping that the door was left open, because I would have loved to see Vigilante Silver going after people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the spinoff. I wanted a Johnny Lawrence spinoff, and I wanted a Silver spinoff, however they chose to do that. Right. I just thought it'd been like, this guy's life is so, how did he spend the last few years of his life fighting this terminal illness? And there's so much to it. I don't know, Thomas.
The guys keep threatening at the rap party. It's like, there was never a body found. It's like, was it there a time cut? We saw the flames, and Terry Silver is a great swimmer. I know that. So who knows?
What's the worst thing Silver does, you think, Thomas, in the series? Well, I guess, in your opinion, movie or show?
The worst thing he does?
Yeah.
He loses his path because he's driven by a past that haunts him, and he couldn't really let that go. And as much as he tried, I think was probably his biggest downfall. And even again, when he goes in with Johnny and LaRusso at LaRusso's house to say, let's just do this tournament right. Let's just let it be this way. But then again, even that is twisted and mangled for him. It's like, again, those moments of sincerity where he's trying so hard. I would have loved to have seen, could he have pulled through? What would that have been like you say, But again, that's what makes the character more fascinating.
Thomas, what redeemable quality does he have?
Oh my God, loyalty.
Yes,
and love for the people he wants to protect. I mean, look how far he went. I mean, that's an extraordinarily, incredible commitment that he had for, the people he cared for, how far he would go.
It's kind of disheartening that, like, you or Billy Zabka have not been nominated for an Emmy for this. It's kind of gross, because you guys are so good. Because there's that scene where Kreese and Lawrence, like Johnny just pours his heart out.
It's incredible. I mean, we got to watch that in the theater, and again, it's like I keep saying it, but I was so proud to say I'm part of something. And when you say it ended this whole, big part of my life, it ended on a great note. They really landed the plane. And I think Ralph delivered, Billy delivered, Marty delivered. The writing. I think the last 3 or 4 episodes are just so strong, and I'm like, and that's a great feeling because it could have gone out with a whimper, going, we've sort of done it. We've done the whole karate tournament, and how do you, do, obviously that's a mandate. We have to deliver on that, but how do you deliver the, the great emotional stuff? And I think they did. It was great,
and it's great to see Martin has this look in his face like, I know what I have to do. I got to kill him. Like, I got to kill this guy because just to protect Johnny. I think that's maybe Silver's worst thing is kidnapping, the planned kidnap of the mother.
Yeah, it's like it's funny because I'm balking at that when I'm first reading it, and then I go, okay, remember, we're serving the story here. Is that true to his character? Would he have gone that far? Yeah, it's a good question. It's very observant of you.
Yeah. Do you think, speaking of redemption, and I hate to focus on this, but does Kreese seek it too late? Like, is it too late? Somebody on Reddit said something today. They said it's not redemption he got. It's what do they call? I forget the word he used, but it was atonement. I think atonement, maybe. So, but like, do you agree with that? Was it too late for him?
Yeah. You'll have to ask the guys. I was like, in playing it all, it's like, nah, you don't get redemption. Not as far as you did, but I think in the big picture, that goes back to, such the basics of Karate Kid 1. So I think it really delivered for all those fans to say, can you possibly bring that guy around? And I think they went for it and did a really good job at it.
Yeah, and it was so funny because before the final third dropped, Martin Kove was kind of acting like he was pissed that he wasn't in the new Karate Kid movie, but it made sense because he couldn't have been in it because it's the continuation. He was dead.
I mean, from what I've heard, I don't even know if that acknowledges the whole Cobra Kai world. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in that universe, so I don't know if that's.
It's interesting. Yeah.
You know what I love about what they did too, Tom? So I have a few more questions, and thank you for all this time. You're so kind. Thank you.
You got it.
One of the most beautiful things that the big three did was that they paid homage to these movies without rewriting them. Like they gave, I don't want to say new life because I've always loved it, but it's the way they took. I've never seen storytelling like this. It's, as a writer, you had to appreciate it, I'm sure. As an actor, how do you view that?
They just what you said. I mean, they didn't repeat. They really found something new in this world, which is hard to do because most remakes are sort of like we're an extension of what it is. And they were like, we're going in a completely different direction, and we're taking each character and we're taking, what's the multidimensional aspect of each character? What's that backstory? What are those things we don't know? And they are such fans of the movies that they know every detail. So what did that mean in the movie? And they twisted that up, which I really think was the genius of why this worked. So people would go, oh, all these great little, tidbits. And they go, now we remember that. And they weren't just gimmicky. They felt, they really earned them, which has made it special.
Was it tough to say goodbye, and what will you miss most?
Yeah, it was. It's funny because, after Karate Kid 3, I didn't, see those people again. I hadn't seen Ralph or Billy in like 30 years. So it is tough to say goodbye, but I'm appreciative that we share this time and we have something in common like that. It was great to go back just to be an actor, to walk on set and say, I only have to worry about this character. I don't have to worry about making the day or other characters, what everybody else is doing. It was very empowering and very freeing, so I really enjoyed that, and I'm so fortunate that the windows of when I could do it, coincided perfectly with, what the show we're doing. So again, it was just overall, Darek, just a really positive, wonderful experience that I'll take with me.
Yeah. Was there a breaking in period when you found out you were coming back? Is there certain things you had to do, like, oh shit, I have to make sure of this. I have to go back and rewatch. I have to look at notes. Is there any of that breaking in period, or did you kind of know what you had to do?
I kind of knew, and I based it on the scripts I got. And once I read those scripts and really studied them, then I said, okay, here's an idea to play with, and let's see what these guys do. Well, how is Ralph going to? And you can only rehearse in your mind so much, because you don't know what Billy's going to do. You don't know what Ralph is going to do. And then those great moments of how they play it, and then you go, ooh, there's an opening there. So it's just being fluid in the moment that I just feel like it's such a great process. It's so much fun.
My last question to you is there any of the new cast that, like, you were, I mean, I'm sure there's many, but that you were totally amazed with their abilities, that what they brought to the multiverse, that maybe were not in the movies, like any of those kids, any of the new adults, whatever.
Yeah, the kids did an amazing job, especially being a martial artist, knowing that they didn't have a martial arts background. They were some of them were dancers or gymnasts, whatever. But the work they put in to make it look like the martial arts is great. They really worked their butts off. And the stunt team across the board was just fantastic, what they did. And I got to observe that. And I think they grew, because you go from those late teens, early 20 years, and you see them mature. I'm really, I look forward to watching them and see where, what they do next.
Your martial arts is so prevalent in that Karate Kid 3, where, do you remember when you catch that fist? It's almost like perfect. Like when LaRusso, that's amazing. And there's a kick, you have boxing gloves on. There's a kick you give where you can it's thunderous. Like you could feel it through the movie. You know what I'm talking about? You have boxing gloves on and it's like, boom. So your martial arts background certainly serves you well.
Years of doing it. That just comes, that's still there.
Thomas, thank you so much for this. I hope you come back sometime. I'm so eager to see what lies ahead for you. Such a big fan of Terry Silver, such a big fan of you. And thank you for all these years of just making things great and making a fandom develop and increase by size and generations. And
thank you so much for saying, Darek. That means a lot.